Yo, what's going on, guys? In today's video I want to talk about the Kirac map device mods that we are getting in patch 3.19, so the Lake of Kalandra expansion. And in case you don't know what these map device mods are, they are basically mods you can add to your map with certain costs. So for example, you can add essence to your map for 2 chaos, and here you can see in patch notes how many of certain league mechanic you're gonna get in a map for this price. And these map mods can have a huge impact on the league, especially on the strategies that people are gonna be doing, and also on the economy of certain items connected to these league mechanics. So let me talk about them one by one, what kind of strategies you can do with them and what effect they're gonna have on the league, in my opinion. So first one is the essence. So to be honest, we had the essence mod on a Kirac map device for, I believe, like 3 or maybe even 4 leagues in a row right now, which actually makes me very happy because this is the mod that pretty much everyone can just put on their maps and you're gonna just get additional profit, especially if you're gonna use the Atlas passives. So the ones that give additional essence, additional higher tier and so on. So with combination with essences, this is actually a very nice strategy for pretty much everyone. In the last league, I did a challenge where I started playing from 0 in month like 2 of the league, and I was doing this even in white maps. I was just adding, I believe it was 3 essences for 3 chaos in every white map, and even in the white map it is worth it. Some essences can be hard to kill, but even if you can't kill them, you can just skip them and you still are gonna make profit from this. So this is a very nice mod for mostly casual players, but even if you're gonna do like high tier maps and you just are not doing any of the other league mechanics, you can just add essences for some additional profit. And they also don't take that much time to do. So this is a very nice one, and I actually hope that it's gonna be on map device pretty much every single league. So I really like that. Obviously essences are not that expensive anymore, especially because this mod exists, but they are still worth it. Okay, second one is Abyss. So 3 chaos, 2 abysses. So usually abysses have been used for adding additional monsters to your map. For things like Delirium, for example, because Delirium benefits a lot from additional monsters in the map. But this league, we are actually getting a nerf to rare monsters in a league mechanics, so Abyss is actually getting a big hit because it was spawning a lot of rare monsters. So I'm not so sure if Abyss is still gonna be a very nice for just adding monsters for Delirium. Other than this type of strategy, Abyss doesn't really have that many uses. You're not gonna get that much loot from Abysses themselves. Maybe if you're gonna combine it with the this passive, so Abyss Jewels have dropped from your maps, have 20% chance to be corrupted and have 5 or 6 random modifiers. If you're gonna go for it, it can be pretty good at the beginning of the league, but other than that, it's nothing too crazy. Again, maybe if you're gonna do like a Delirium strategy, maybe it can be good. Next one is Ambush, and Ambush is actually very nice. If you're gonna combine Ambush with the Atlas passives, like for example, strongboxes have duplicated divination cards, duplicated currency, and additional chance for diviner and arcanist strongboxes. On top of that, 6% chance for scarab strongboxes. It can actually be a very good strategy, especially if you're gonna combine it with the sextants, like let me show you here. Not this one. This one. Strongbox monsters have 500% increased quantity, so you can do this in maps like Crimson Temple for additional chance for Mage Blood cards to drop. So the Ambush is actually very nice. It's not like crazy good, but if you are going for divination cards or the strongbox passives, it is actually a very good strategy to go for. And it doesn't really have that big effect on the economy because you're just getting extra currency and divination cards from it. So next one is Heist. So Heist is actually very, very interesting. I was actually looking forward to Heist being on map device for a very long time, and we finally got it. Because I actually made a video like a year ago when it was on a map device, and I was doing basically like a chest. I called it like a chest run, but where basically I would just enter a map, click on the smuggler caches, and just go out, and that's it. And it was actually already profitable to make money this way. But since then, economy changed a bit. Now we have the sextant for guaranteed smuggler cash, and it's usually around like 10 chaos. So if you have 4 uses, you're paying like 2.5 C per smuggler cash. Maybe if you can get them for cheap, you pay like maybe 2 C per smuggler cash, and here you're gonna pay 3 C per one. And on top of that, contracts nowadays are cheaper, but still you make a lot of profit from just markers and blueprints. But you can actually just combine it with a lot of Atlas passives that give you additional chance for blueprints and rogue markers, and on top of that you can still use the sextant for third smuggler cache, so you're gonna get 3 smuggler caches. And generally you're gonna get enough rogue markers to pay for the price of this mod. Sometimes you're gonna get less, and all of the blueprints and contracts are just gonna be free currency. And on top of that, it is just very fast mechanic to do, right? You can, whatever strategy you are doing, if you choose on top of that Heist Atlas passives, you can just add this mod, and for basically free, just few clicks, you're gonna get some additional money. Obviously, selling Heist contracts can be pretty annoying, so if you don't like doing that, that's not something I can recommend. But it is very similar, in my opinion, to Essence, where pretty much everyone can just go for it. Essences you can do even in white maps, but Heist you probably should be doing in at least tier 14, so you can get high tier contracts and blueprints, so you can sell them on TFT. So yeah, it should be pretty good, but nothing like crazy. Now for the last 3 mods, I'm gonna talk about them together, because they are actually very similar in the way they work. Because for example, in Heist you can just use Heist Atlas passives, and on top of that add this mod, and you're gonna make money. Same with Essences, but here you're actually gonna be better off just using Scarabs, because for all of these 3 mechanics we have Scarabs, which are actually cheaper than this price, so 6, 8 and 12 chaos. And it is not the case, for example, for Ambush, because Ambush Scarabs are actually pretty expensive, so this mod is actually very good for Strongbox strategy. But for example, Legion, if you search Legion Scarabs, Rusted go for 0.5 C right now, and even at the beginning of the league, they go for like 1 C. Blight, Rusted go for also like 2 chaos, and the Expedition, even though they are still pretty expensive, they go for like 6 chaos. Even if you look at the Gilded one, Gilded Expedition is actually more expensive, which is the only one that is more expensive than the map mod. But for example, Legion, it is a very similar price, so like 5, 6 chaos, and the Blight is actually only similar price to the map mod at the beginning of the league. So yeah, you would be better off just using a Gilded or Rusted or Polished Scarab instead of using one of these. But where they shine is actually when you are gonna just choose one of these strategies and juice them up to the maximum possibility. Because if you are gonna use, for example, Gilded Blight Scarab, it is on top of that not only gonna add the encounter, but it's also gonna add additional boss and additional rewards from the chest. And this is gonna do these things for this Blight encounter and the Blight encounter you're gonna get from the map device. You're basically gonna double dip. So for Blight, for example, again, you're gonna get these, and you can also use the Blight sextant for even more encounters, so additional one more. And on top of that, you can improve all of them thanks to this sextant, which gives your oils a higher tier. So again, this is gonna affect all of these three Blight. If you are gonna use Scarab, Map Device Mod, and Sextant, you're gonna have 3 Blight encounters, and all of them are gonna have 1 tier higher oils. So this is also pretty much the same thing for a Legion. You can get 3 Legions plus passive points, and for Legion you can also add additional 1 Legion, and you can improve all of them thanks to this sextant. Splinters and emblems in your maps are duplicated, so 3 Legions and all of them are gonna be duplicated. But for example, the Blight, actually, we had this map device mod like 2 leagues ago, and it actually wasn't that great because back then we only could have 1 Blight encounter in a map. So even though this existed, it wasn't that great because you could just use Scarab and you couldn't get additional Blight encounter. But now they actually changed it 1 league ago, and now we can have multiple Blight encounters. So it is gonna work pretty much the same as a Legion. You just use 3 of them, use Gilded Scarab, and use the Sextants. But Expeditions, we actually don't know how it is gonna work, because up to this league, I don't think we had any way to add more than 1 Expedition encounter to a map. So we don't even know if we're gonna be able to use this and Scarab at the same time. If we're gonna be able to just use Scarab, this mod is gonna be pretty much useless, just like this one was 2 leagues ago. Because again, Rusted Expedition, Scarab, it's gonna go for like 6, even if it's gonna go for like 8, 10C in bulk, it is still gonna be better to use Scarab. The only advantage you get from using it is the fact that you don't have to buy Scarabs, but it's generally not even that hard to buy them, so I would just prefer to use Scarabs instead of mod. But if we actually will be able to use Scarab and this at the same time and get 2 Expedition encounters in a map, it's actually gonna be crazy. We can't get 3 because there is no Expedition Sextant, as you can see here. There's no 1 additional Expedition encounter Sextant, but there is Sextant that increases the amount of runic monster markers per 100%, and this one used to cost last league around 1 exalt. So this is a very expensive sextant, and with the Atlas passive that gives you 1 additional Atlas use, sextant use, it's gonna be 4 uses, so which means this sextant can affect 4 expedition encounters. And if you will be able to have 2 expedition encounters in one map, this is basically gonna be gonna have double value, so it is gonna affect 8 expedition encounters, which is actually very, very big. So expedition has been very popular and a very good strategy for the past few leagues. And if you're gonna be able to have 2 expedition encounters in one map, it's actually gonna be even crazier. But you're gonna probably have to use the Gilded Scarab with this and the Sextant, which actually might lead to prices of Gilded Scarab and this Sextant to be even higher. So it's gonna be pretty high investment strategy, but it should give us very, very good results. But what this also might lead to is logbooks being very cheap, which actually means if someone is going for a logbook strategy, this is actually a very good league to go for that, because normally logbooks go for around like 40-50C, depending on which type. And this league, if you're gonna be able to have 2 expedition encounter in one map, I believe they are gonna be much, much cheaper. And the same thing is for Blight, Legion, and Heist. So if you're planning to do some heisting, maybe 5 ways, maybe blighted maps or logbooks, this is definitely a league to go for. For example, last league we had Delirium on the map device, and because of that, simulacrums were like 40C. They were very, very cheap. I do believe they still will be cheap this league, but probably more like 50, 60, maybe 70k or so. Still a little bit more expensive. So yeah, if you are gonna go for any of these strategies, I can definitely recommend them, but you're gonna have to increase your investment by a lot. I would definitely not recommend just using one of these map device modifiers and just go for it. If you're gonna do it this way, just buy a scarab, that's it. And overall, in terms of map mods, in my opinion, this league, they are actually pretty nice. Almost everyone is gonna find something for themselves. Like, essences are good overall for pretty much everyone, especially if you are a newer player or you just don't play that much. You can use it even in white yellow maps and make some additional profit. Heist, if you don't mind trading, it is just for free additional profit every single map for basically 2 clicks of the caches. Ambush is very nice for magic find farmers. Abyss is probably gonna be still, maybe Expeditions actually, or Blight gonna be better for Delirium farmers, but it's still pretty good mod for Delirium farmers, but it's probably the worst one out of all of them in here. And Legion, Blight, and Expedition are pretty fun strategies, so if you wanna go for them, it's definitely gonna be nice, but again, you're gonna need some nice investment. Also, by the way, Phantasmagoria is back on a map device, which means Blight strategy in Phantasmagoria might be actually pretty good this time around. And Expedition, I think it's actually gonna be crazy, and I actually believe Expedition might be one of the most popular strategies this time around. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.